Right, we'll stop here. Did you ever watch Most Haunted? No.
I have seen it. Yeah, I have seen it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they did back in the day a live one that they called Terror in Torbay, and so they came to a lot of local locations that were known to have a ghost attached to them, and to be fair, it was one of the worst bits of TV I've ever watched.
I totally agree with you. We were there, weren't we, in the audience?
We were, yeah. They were here for a whole weekend, and on the Monday night we were invited to sort of be in what they called the hub, which was Clenham Valley. That was where they had a live audience to watch what was going on, and they showed it on a screen. On the Monday night, they actually went to Bury Pomeroy, but on the Friday, the first night, they went to Lupton House, which is just back up the road there, which has also got a haunted reputation, and they put Derek Okora down in the cellar area, and they let him sort of tune in. And he said, "Oh, I've got the Pomeroy sisters here," and it was like someone jabbed him in the ribs. Like, "No, that's Monday, Derek." So he had to sort of move on to something else. And then Monday, sure enough, they took him to Bury Pomeroy, and again they took him down into the dungeon, and he was standing in there, and he said, "Oh, I've got the Pomeroy sisters here," and Kieran, who was their sort of chief skeptic, he said, "You said that on Friday, Derek." "Did I? Oh, well, they're definitely here now." And then he went on to tell the story of Bury Pomeroy. So, yeah. It was yeah, a bit farcical, because you had Yvette Fielding outside the castle going, "Oh, I feel a bit faint, should I go in, children, blah blah blah." And it all got a bit pantomime-y, so yeah. And then after that, Derek got fired from the show. But back in those days, we used to have some well-known mediums turning up at the theatre doing their demonstrations, and Derek was one of them. And it was almost like hero worship. The place was full, everybody loved Derek. But then when he got sacked, not quite so much, but he still did the circuit. And when he used to come to the Princess, I used to make a point of cashing up quick and then going to watch the show, just to sort of see what they come up with. And this particular night, after he'd sort of been sacked, because I believe he had a gift, but he sold out to fame and fortune by taking part in Most Haunted, and getting a reputation for himself, and then which sadly got taken apart when he overdid it a bit. But anyway, this particular night, I was sat up in the balcony, and the second message that I saw him give, he said, "Oh, I've got a grandfather figure here. I've got a Mr. Phillips, and where's David?" I was like, "Oh, I'm up here, Derek." And then he gave me a message from my grandfather, which was quite pertinent at the time. My granddad said, "I like your change of direction, but you need to keep an eye on your accounts." And at that time, a friend and I were doing what we called nocturnal nightmares at Dartmoor Zoo. What we were doing, I was dressing up as the devil, Mark was dressing up as a landowner, and we'd go around telling spooky stories by the light of a full moon, in the hope that the wolves would howl and the lions and stuff would play up. And that was quite good fun for a year or so, until the zoo got a bit greedy and they wanted a better take of the money we were making. And that was the account side of things that my grandfather was on about, because that's how it all folded. So I think he was present, and he did say that to Derek. And then he brought in my grandmother, and he described the ulcerated legs that she had, which eventually was what killed her. All that I felt was genuine. So yeah, I think he redeemed himself in that respect. So yeah, that was of interest. But when they did this shocker terror in Torbay, they came to several locations in Brixham, one of which was the Smuggler's Hall Hotel, because it does feature in the local ghost book, and supposedly it's got the ghost of a young girl called Aggie, and tragically she fell from one of the windows in the hotel and died, and is said to haunt the room that she fell from. Over the years, people have felt someone in the room tucking them in bed and things like that. So she definitely has a presence that's felt. And so Most Haunted came along and wanted to do a bit of filming here, and they then asked the owners to sort of move out whilst they set the equipment up. And unfortunately, they weren't that careful. They unplugged freezers and fridges to plug in their own equipment.
Oh, what?
So the owners came back to find all their stock had been destroyed. So they weren't best pleased with, even though they've been paid for the privilege, but you don't go destroying someone's livelihood like that. So afterwards, when we came along to sort of ask if we could have a go, they weren't interested, as you can imagine. So yeah, so interesting hotel. Whether it's still got anything active, don't know. But yeah, once you're in the local ghost book, you can't hide from it. So anyway, right, we'll move on along towards the harbour.